Welcome to Unbiased and On the Fence. I'm Shane. Thank you guys so much for joining us on this wonderful Tuesday. And I don't have to stall. I thought I might have to stall around a little bit until Michelle.
Good save. Good save.
Way to go, Michelle.
I had to, as soon as we were coming on, Archer decided to grab the squeaky toy at that moment. I was like, no. Run.
Fun times.
It. Yeah, he's going to look around, see what else he can do, just disrupt things for a bit, but he'll settle down.
Well, I noticed over here my stream is buffering a little bit. I don't know if that's me or if people are dealing with that. Hopefully it'll straighten out. I got a green light on sending, so I'm assuming it's my receiving that's got issues. But at any rate.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. I didn't even look at the Schumann today. I don't know why.
Quiet, that's why.
Yeah, it's funny how you'll feel that drive to go and check it out whenever.
Yeah, I've noticed that too, where it's like ping. Wake up in the morning, I'm like, something was going on last night. Wow, really noticed that later, like building up to the full moon last week. And I think the Schumann really reflected that too. I was really feeling it. A lot of visuals, really experienced downloads coming in a very physical and profound way. So with synchronicities or affirmations, we'll say that, come up, and other information that I, viewed over the next couple of days, which was like reaffirming what the images and impressions that were coming to me. So that was a really, really neat experience. It was a conceptual understanding, not explained in words, but with pictures and through experience of what our infinity is. It took me through this voyage of like being way out in space, and then traveling through space and to getting to the Earth, and then down into the Earth all the way to my skin, and then small to the smallest particles, right, the atoms, and then that it has to do with the torus. And how separating atom causes nuclear explosion, it causes that nuclear reaction, and that it was showing me like that being like this point in the torus where literally you go into that cell, and then all of a sudden you're like back in the universe again. And then it's this cycle that goes through, like you're in the universe and you go all the way down to the very smallest particle we imagine, and you break through, like that barrier is like breaking through the torus, and then boom, you're out in the universe again. And that every single particle that we're made of is these infinite realities, literally within ourselves. Like the saying, the universe is within, it literally is within every cell that we are in this infinite way. So it was a very profound vision and experience, and then so it was like building that conceptual platform of understanding, and then it was kind of showing me how you can change your own cells, like with the water, you can change the makeup of your own cells, and that literally all this possibility is within every cell of our being, is all the realities that we are experiencing in a way. And by shifting and changing the cells and having them more in alignment to one goal, is how you're stepping into those realities. Does this make sense? I mean,
Oh
it
my
was
gosh, you're like totally blowing my mind here because I was in a session with Sharon and she was talking. As she was talking, I always get in this meditative state and I'll receive pictures and images during someone's BQH session too. Sometimes they're going along with what they're saying, and I feel like I got a similar download to what you're talking about with the Taurus field because I was seeing. I think she was talking about an infinity sign or the way something traveling along the an infinity type axis, but then I saw it in a three-dimensional way where it was traveling around a torus,
yes,
like spiraling around it. From the side, it looked like it was doing the infinity sign, but really it was traveling
through
not only around the torus this way, but like spinning as well. But
yes,
from a sideways perspective, it looked like it was just doing the infinity sign. So that's
yes.
so weird that you're like saying this, and I'm like, oh my god, I saw this. I saw what you're talking about, like in a session.
Well, that's perfect because that's some of the affirmations that I continue to get after getting those visual images. And like Naughty Beaver put out a video a couple of days ago, and somebody on there, love Naughty Beaver, by the way. Somebody on there was talking about their experience of download and getting information, and that this understanding of infinity was required as like a platform for further understanding. It just in hearing, and there was a lot of similar descriptions to what I had got too. So that was kind of like one of the affirmations as well. So for as well for you to say that's great. It just reaffirms it to me because it was very when I was experiencing these pictures as well. Well, you were in a hypnotic somewhat state yourself because you're doing that by doing the process with somebody else. You're kind of hypnotizing yourself too.
Yeah, you're like aligning your energies with them.
Yeah,
sort of
yeah,
going on this journey with them, right?
yeah. Because I do self hypnosis too, so it's you really are in a way putting yourself in that zone. So where was I now? I'm popping back and forth.
Well, but just to even add to what we're saying, that when Todd had called in and he was talking about 0 point and the addition of this extra number and how he was talking about, like, if you've got two people, you've got 1 plus 1 is 2, but you've also got the two together create an entity. And then I was talking about how the scripture that Jesus said, where 2 or 3 are gathered, which a lot of people remember it as 2 or more are gathered, but now it's a Mandela effect for some. There I will be also. And, we think of Jesus as like this individual, but maybe it's the Christ consciousness that comes in when we get in unity with one another. I mean, it's not just 1 or 2 and then 3 or 4 is excluded. It's like whenever more than one are gathered, together they create a whole nother entity, which is sort of like why we combine our intentions during our Saturday night meditation, because as a group, we become like in one accord and combine our energies and intentions together, which are much stronger. And that got back to this word that came to me called this word synergy, which was, if you add all the individual parts by themselves, they add up more by coming together. The sum of the individuals is greater than the individual numbers alone.
Yeah.
So, and then all of this is like tying together with, it's just amazing because I can tell it's going through the collective, and I love when you can see these trends.
Yeah. And it was when you mentioned synergy,
synergy, yeah.
Synergy, thank you. That's what it was showing me too, and like the 0 point and how it was like this awareness of in being infinite and how this process works itself, like shifts the cells within your body to that zero point. It was showing me that as well. And then how quickly, and then like like you said, where once it was like this multiplication of cells coming into an alignment.
Yeah.
And if you even just focus and think about your cells doing that, and feeling it, so
and that comes into the the session of Sarah's that I just posted, where it was talking about we all bring our tones, our vibrations together, and together we harmonize. And that's the same thing. You've got these individual notes, But then the
Mm-hmm.
music that's created, we were just talking about this before we went live about a
Yeah.
band.
Yeah.
When you're like making music with a band, it's like everybody, the drummer does his thing, the bass does his thing. And I was just telling you how cool it is when you're in a band and like one person will start something up and everybody keeps adding stuff into it. And before you know it, you're creating music that's never been created before just
Mm-hmm.
because you're like jamming, and
Yeah.
everybody's just kind of playing what you feel the beat, you know what note you're playing in, and then everyone just goes from there. I mean, there's no planning or anything, and it's sort
Yeah.
of you're really tapping into that creative energy when you do that. And that's sort of the same thing when we come together and we bring all of our different knowledge and what we've learned from different religions and spiritual teachings and all of that,
Yeah.
and we bring it together without judgment of the other. I mean, that's a really important part, is to allow the
Yeah.
guitar player to play his song, because as soon as you start worrying about what he's playing, you're not doing the bass or the drums good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was getting great visuals there of surfing the wave of like you
Yeah,
said, like finding that moment and just that's just when you're like coasting that wave, and you're
yeah.
just you're just in it. You're in that moment. Yeah,
But
we
that's
like
that
to share.
unity.
We like to share videos with each other of people who are in that moment. Musically or whatever, and you just see it and experience it along with them. So, and it's been great sharing my musical journey with Shane, especially over the last year with the piano. And
Yeah, you've turned into quite the entertainer, right?
I was literally playing that today. Yeah, played that today for him.
And you know what's cool? It's probably still playing in your head too. What's
Oh, it
cool is
is.
that like Michelle's my sister from a previous life, and
Yes.
she's playing the song, and I'm like, dude, my sister from this life used to play that all the time. She started playing
Yeah.
piano when she was 5 and going to recitals when she's like 9 and stuff. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you've come so far to be able to play that because I think she was a teenager before she was playing stuff like that, and like I said, she started at 5, so it's amazing how far you've come. And
Yeah.
then you were saying that, yeah, I've kind of got my eyes on the guitar now. It's amazing how once you
Yeah.
get something down, how and I've dealt
Yeah.
with that my whole life. It's like, do I want to be a master at this or do I want to
I'm
be sort of,
always being like that too, Shane.
yeah. As
I
soon as you get
just
really good at a medium and painting
then
or
I want to
doing
go on
art,
to another
I want
medium.
to learn something new.
Yeah.
I've got this. I mean, I know I could really excel
Yeah.
if I focused on that, but man, I want to model clay now or
Something
whatever, or
always
something.
something else always calls to me. Exactly. And then I want to move on, and that's it. It's hard for me to just choose a career out of something I do creatively, because then I feel locked into doing it. And that
Yeah.
pushes me away from it, because a lot of people, want you to say that, well, you could, sell your art, you could do this or that. And yeah, but you have to do it like all the time. you know?
Yeah,
And
it's kind
I
of it ruins the
always
fun
wanting
of
to
it. I
try
think. Yeah.
new stuff. Yeah.
Not that it wouldn't be great to be a master pianist or something, or a guitarist, and be known that you're in the top 10 guitar players in the world or something. That would be awesome. But what you would sacrifice for that, you know what I
You have
mean?
to recognize a commitment. Yeah, like they say, like I'm looking at it, they say 10,000 hours doing anything and you're a master then, right? If you
Yeah,
really break down what's required in 10,000 hours, it's a serious commitment of time. Like, it really does take that long. You can't just, how are you going to sustainably be able to do that? I think that's why it's great when you can start something when you're so young and start putting those 10,000 hours early then.
yeah. It was I think
Right?
a video I came across on YouTube where a guy, I think he was learning the ukulele, and he wanted to learn as many songs as he could. He wanted to see, I think 17 hours is what he did. And he was, with just 17 hours, he was able to play all these songs. I think it was like a few dozen songs or something, with
Mm-hmm.
just 17 hours of practice. And just to show you how little of time you need to learn something, but then to master it, like you're saying,
To
you've got to like
master it. Yeah.
devote it years and years and years of being
Yeah.
a master and someone that's, like considered to be the top in your game or whatever. But
Yeah.
think of 10,000 hours, how many 17-hour things you could learn. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you're giving up, dozens of things, other things, just to be the master of one. And for me, it was
Yeah.
it was just always following my desire and
In that moment.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
just
me
going with it,
too.
following
Because
the
I've been
inspiration.
called to clay. I've been, I like to do all these different things.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, that's what I wish, if I dream about and want to create a new sort of environment for myself, like I was saying, I think that would be a fantastic thing to be around more creative people all the time and who did just trying all these different mediums, Um, yeah,
that
find a way to
that's
do that.
yeah, that's why it would be cool to work with kids and art, or even adults, even that's wanting to
Yeah.
learn art, and then where
Yeah,
you
being
could,
with kids with art too, because I just don't do it enough in schools now.
yeah.
That would that would be cool. That would be
Then you
cool.
wouldn't get stuck in one thing either. You're like, and then you could have the excitement of the kids learning the new thing
Yeah.
with them to live vicariously through their first time of molding something in clay or their first time painting or whatever, you know.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. It's through fresh eyes. Yeah, each time, and it's a new experience. And yeah, that would be pretty number one on my list. Just
Yeah.
doing art with kids all the time. Yeah,
And you can
not
really
sure
see
how I
where
can do it, but mhm.
the way it would click with some, and they'd want to stay on modeling clay or painting or whatever, and they'd want to
Mhm.
become a master at that. Maybe they'd be such a natural at it that they're like, oh my gosh, I never want to stop doing this, you know.
Yeah, well, you know what though? I think where new original ideas can come from too is by those who are willing to mix these different mediums and genres together. Well, I tried this and got really good at, but I want to try this as well. And that's often the case in life. I think we'll do different things and we don't realize at the time we're doing that, we're learning that one thing there, but we end up doing it. We take a combination of, well, this thing I've learned and this thing I've learned and mix it up together into doing it something new. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and I think being really creative people, I think that's why we do want to try all these different things, because we're constantly looking on ways to expand our creative experience. It's just a natural expression of who we are and how we want to experience this reality. That's creative expansion. So we're
Yeah.
constantly wanting to stretch that, express it, feel it, touch it, experience it in new and different ways. How can I mold this? How can I experience color this way or music this way? And yeah.
And then
So
there's moving into the whole virtual realm. You know, I mean, I went to
yeah.
school to do modeling and animation within a 3D environment that was simply on my computer and modeling within that, and just like you would clay, you know, and you pick out the different shapes you want to start with. Like you might start with a square and turn it into a chair or whatever,
Yeah.
just by cutting on it and stuff, you know. But and even some of the video games like
Well, that's why I got hooked
Minecraft
on
is,
Minecraft.
yeah,
You know
Minecraft
that.
totally taps into that creative side
It
to where you
does,
can.
and it's not, I'm like, oh, should I be spending this, time on? It's a different thing because it's just on the computer, and as opposed to I'm used to doing stuff like on paper, and I sort of have something to show for it afterwards. Like I can be like, oh, it's what I made, right?
Yeah,
But I find I'm enjoying it so much, like remolding terrain and building buildings and just creating literally whatever you want, you can build, and then mechanics and everything else. I'm like, this is heaven for me.
yeah. And I did some of the first generation
Yeah.
stuff like Populous and SimCity
I never
2000 or
tried
whatever.
any
And
of those. Yeah, I was kind of like, what's the point of that? But this one got me.
yeah,
The
and
Minecraft got me.
even the 3D programs you use now, like Bender or Blender and some of the Maya and things like that, aren't really too far off from like Minecraft if you really think
Oh,
about it. It's
really?
this 3D environment. Of course, you can make realistic things with it. You know, like you can make a fruit basket that's photorealistic. You know,
Wow.
using textures and things like that, and reflections and light rays and all that sort of thing within the program. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and it's really indistinguishable from reality.
That's cool.
It's how like Avatar was done. How they're able to
Yeah.
create this world with these real people in it, but that world really doesn't exist. You
Yeah.
know, it was just all generated within a computer, and they're running around in this green room with these sensors all over them. You
I
know,
know. I
it's
know. Not
amazing.
like the puppets and like when you and I grew up, like everything was like, even the original Star Wars, that was still like puppets. It wasn't animation. Like they had to, that would have been something I would have really enjoyed as a career. Movie makeup,
Yeah.
like all the puppets, working mechanical things that they had.
Oh
And
yeah.
yeah, the Muppets and everything. That was an art form itself. And it's all just digital now. It's completely different. But they used to
Yeah.
have to hands-on make those things
Yeah, they
back
like
then.
little kids do when they're holding like they're
Yeah.
making their sounds.
Oh, I loved Godzilla when I was a kid. Oh my goodness. I love those. I love those movies. Yeah.
And that's why, when people have a problem with thinking like, why would we put ourselves here with these bad people and stuff? I'm like, anytime we're ever given that opportunity, we do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
like, whether it's cops and robbers, or you're playing Empire Strikes Back, or you're just making some stuff up. You're like, this guy's gonna be the worst villain ever.
Adventure.
He's gonna be able to freeze and stop your powers, and you know what I mean? We do this. We do it like out of our own free will. So you're saying that we wouldn't do this with our real reality? We
Yeah.
create it for ourselves.
Exactly. To be the
It's going to be
heroes.
impossible to beat this guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Exactly. Put your superhero shirt on. It's
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
I had another flying dream last week too. Yeah, we have a lot of dreams to talk about, I think,
Yeah, we
eh?
do. Yeah.
Can I just want to add one more thing before I forget, because this is kind of cool too. To what I was talking about when I got that download, the Tola Infinity download, right? So I was getting all this information, and I started about how timelines and actually how we shift timelines through the cells in our body, through these toruses within the cells within our body by shifting that. Okay, and then so all of this, and then it just went like quiet, and I was just experiencing a massive amount of energy with the pressure on the forehead, really feeling it, the humming and the vibration, physical flip-flop and responses to the visions that I was seeing. And then when I felt like I had integrated the concept, there was a physical flippy flop feeling or whatever of a adjustment or recognition or acceptance of the concept. And then so everything went calm, blank, black. And I'm just like in this space and just seeing with eyes closed, just the blackness behind my eyes. And then all of a sudden, like neon, pink, like rainbowy, with a lot of pink, but like rainbow colors. I observed this like a serpent. It came down from my view like this. It went like this, and it was like this serpent that went like this, but rainbow. And it didn't even hit me right away. I'm just watching this sort of cool thing happen, and then it just kind of dawned on me. I'm like, that's the rainbow serpent. Like that's the rainbow. And I know it's got to do with our DNA helix and shifting our DNA. So it was just a really cool visual, like of how bright it was. It was like neon rainbow pink. And just striking the way it came in. It was just there. And yeah, so I feel that this information, these downloads, a lot of people may be experiencing them, and it really is about the rainbow bridge. Which is the shifting. The bridge is within us, within our cells, within our DNA, and in that crossover and integrating these concepts within the cells of our being is what will allow that to occur. So I wanted to share that too, in case anybody else has gotten visuals like that, because it was very profound when I saw it. What's that?
I said I have on DMT, which is actually, where it was fractals of all these mixing rainbow colors, and it sort of created this DNA / serpent sort of shape.
Yeah.
And
because it was spinning like DNA,
right?
But it was a serpent, and it was going but it was kind of spinning at the same time. Yeah, sorry to cut you off.
No. But I know you explained it perfectly. So it's, you took me back to that. And
cool.
And I think at the time I was listening to Native American flute or whatever, and it was such a profound experience of just the majesty and really hearing the flute and realizing that was God coming through with the music, you know, and I was seeing it all working together. And I even remember at the time thinking, man, we're waiting for an event, but this is happening right now. You know what
Like
I
within
mean?
the cells of your
I mean,
body.
there's
Yeah.
so much happening in this very moment,
Yeah.
you know? I mean, I'm thankful for all that's happening here in the now. I mean, it might not be the huge shift everybody's wanting, but there's so much going on right now that's building upon everything in a very synergistic way where there's no way, when you see from this point of view, you can see there's no way to lose. It's like it goes against the grain or against nature. Even the perceived setbacks end up being stepping stones to greater things. And once you see things from that perspective, it's so easy to like let it go and let it flow because it's happening. It's so
Yes.
happening, you know?
Yes.
A
Yeah.
little peek under the hood, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Peek under the hood. That's right.
Okay,
So,
so did you want to add to what you were getting about the dream? So I had this dream where I was looking at the black paint, and then I like shifted over here, and I could see green in it. And there was this discussion with my dad, who's passed away, but in the dream, we were like kind of checking out how you could, you know, look at this black trim paint from different perspectives and see the different colors or whatever.
yeah, so that's something we didn't like when we talked about your dream last week. I got some information, but then when I went back and listened after, I got a whole bunch of more information like impressed on me, which I don't really feel was addressed when we originally talked about, which was the shift in perspective. Basically, that set the stage for your entire dream, everything that was going on, because it was like, okay, well, if we look at it this way, it looks black. If we look at it this way, oh, look, it looks green. And it really is how you shift your perspective. And so, you know, from speaking with your dad then and having to shift the perspective, you literally physically having to do that, but then also in a train of thought, it was just, you know, be aware of shifting that perspective. It depends on how you look at it. If you look at it this way, it can look black. You look at it this way, it can look green. But really is how you're choosing to view what is going on, and just to keep that in mind. It's just a shift of perspective.
Right.
And that shift in perspective is then, of course, what changes our frequency, and you had to change your frequency because, you know, in one sense you're having a conversation which you could comprehend with your father who has passed on, and it was very real situation. I do think you were really interacting with your father, and you have to be in a certain frequency to do that. But then, you know, your wife coming in and it was garbled, and, you know, you couldn't sort of cut out and choppy and everything because it's in a different frequency. She's not passed on. She's still here.
Right,
So
right.
You have to shift that perspective. It really is very fractal throughout that dream, and every situation, everything that's going on, it all is just a shift in perspective.
Right. Or shift in frequency.
Or a
Even.
shift in frequency. And
Shifting in frequency is a shift in perspective, though, I guess is what it's kind of saying in a way.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that too, not only with myself but with others, that when you are more high vibe in the moment, and you can get your vibes up real high and you feel great and all that, your intuition is off the charts at those times. And then when you're feeling down and like nothing's happening and all this stuff, then it's like you lose that connection. It's like, so it's almost like what you're saying, but in reverse. It's like the higher realms become choppy when you allow yourself to kind of get down and stuff. And it's almost like that's been coming through a lot too. It's like, find your happy place, find what makes you feel blissful, whether it's take time to get in the garden and do your gardening or whatever it is that you do that sort of helps you find that happy daydreamy sort of place. You know, for some of us it could just be sitting around and just sitting outside and like enjoying the birds and getting in that meditative state. You know, just observing, not so much sitting there with your eyes closed, but just looking around and just observing. That can be very meditative and get you in that happy place. Or doing art or music, you know, like you've been doing music, and that gets you in that place, you know, and it's like, take time to do whatever it is that you do that gets you in that place, because when you're there, you're like tuning into those, you're shifting your perspective into those higher frequencies that give you the better connection with your higher self, and the more intuition can flow through and all of that, you know?
yeah, agreed.
That's powerful.
So what about you with dreams?
Okay, so yeah, I had this is weird because I didn't even write the first one down because it seemed like it wasn't anything. So before I do that, I want to say, because this came up in both instances, someone recently, if you can chime in the chat or later in the comments, if you're watching this later, someone I was talking to, I think it was someone maybe I gave a session to, used the word lift a few times, and then even caught themselves and said, I don't know why I'm saying lift instead of raise or another word for lift, but that word lift, uh, it kind of stood out to the person that they didn't normally use that word. And I can't remember who it was. Maybe it was Sarah or somebody else. But anyway, so I just wanted to say that first because this dream, the first dream I had, my old best friend, we don't really talk much anymore, but he had gotten this new job at a mechanic's shop, and I needed some work done on my car that I can do. So like he was going in orientation. I'm like, hey, while you guys are busy in orientation, I think I'm just going to put my car up on the lift or the rack, lift it up, do the repairs real quick or whatever. So anyway, orientation gets over and the boss comes out, and I knew the boss in the dream, like kind of knew him, but I didn't like work for him or anything, but I knew of him or whatever. So it wasn't like I was a stranger to him. But anyway, he came up while I'm like working on my car and I wasn't quite done, and so I kind of got busted using the lift without asking or whatever. And he goes, you could have asked me. It's totally cool or whatever. We got empty space that you could have done it without, any problems or whatever. So while he's like standing under the car talking to me, something shifted and the car like sounded like it was going to fall off the lift, and it scared the crap out of the guy, right? So it was almost like maybe I didn't do something right or something or something, but anyway, it just scared him real bad, and that was the end of it. It didn't fall on him though, right?
Huh.
So
Huh.
I'm thinking it was just this random dream. I didn't write it down like I should have. I just kind of remembered it later throughout the day. So this morning I have a dream, and I'm in this garage. It seems like my dad's garage from the other dream that I was standing and looking at the trim that leads to that garage. It's kind of funny. I just realized that. But it was big enough for 4 cars, like still 2 rows, but like 2 deep. So, and it had garage doors on one side and garage doors on the other. So 4 garage doors total. So you could open up one side and drive straight through, kind of like a Jiffy Lube type
Right.
setting. And it had lifts in it. So I went to I had this remote and I'm trying to open the garage doors, and one of the doors I opened caught a car on a lift and almost knocked it off. So I'm like, what the heck? Why would I have 2 dreams about cars on lifts that almost fall off? So it kind of gets hung on it and stuff. And this is the funny thing. It turns out this is how dreams are, It's James, it's James Gilliland's auto shop or whatever, right? And he gets back from wherever he is, and I'm like, oh, James, be careful. That car got hung on the door. I don't know if it's going to fall or whatever. And he's like, oh, no, I already got it off of there. And so I looked and it wasn't up there or hung anymore. And they were crushing it. They were crushing the car. It's like, that was just a junk car anyway. We're going to just crush it or whatever, So I look and it's this little square that it like smashed the car into nothing, and that's the end of the dream. Weird, huh?
Yeah.
So I would have thought it was just
I don't
nothingness, but the
know.
fact that I had 2 different dreams about these car lifts on racks, I guess they call them racks or lifts. I know that they call elevators lifts in other countries, like we call them elevators. So I don't know. What comes to you on that? Lifting a car?
Well, you're inspecting the underbelly of something.
Yeah. And transportation being raised
Yeah. You
in both
definitely.
instances.
Were you worried about your car right now? Like in
And actually,
transportation?
that's the other thing. I've got work that I need to do on my car.
Okay.
Like, I need to
That's-
change the brakes on it, and I've got to jack it up,
Yeah. You're
Got to work
worried
on the
about.
struts.
It's
Worried
yeah,
about not
pretty.
putting the jack under it good and it falling on my leg or something. I don't know.
You're worried about that once it gets up on the lift and gets looked at, it's going to be a lot more problems than you are initially anticipating, and you're resistant having to deal with additional issues that may come to light upon
I should,
further
I should
inspection of the
crush it.
vehicle. And it might be time to just pitch those concerns.
The concerns of the vehicle itself. Or do I
Well,
need to?
ultimately it comes down to the concerns, doesn't it? Whether it's the vehicle or not,
Yeah.
whether it's a physical thing or it's not. It doesn't really matter what decision you make about the car. It's it's the worrying about future occurrences that may happen upon, further inspection, and how it may affect others around you,
Yeah.
and the stresses it may cause with that. Um, yeah, so it's pretty normal place to be, Shane. I know I certainly have, when it comes to cars. And then you're like, well, is it going to go this way or is it going to go that way? Because it's up there, it's on the lift, and you're inspecting it, and you're having to look, at the underneath of what the worst problems could be, and it could go this way, the car could go this way, well, the car could go that way.
Right.
You
Well, the second dream, it wasn't even my car, though. I don't know if that's
yeah,
important.
but it's still referencing the car. It's just, yeah, bringing it up again. It's not, well, that's it. But the second dream, so you're along in the process, right? Because usually, the dreams help us work these things out, so we don't have to actually do as much legwork in reality. That's really what
Right.
it is. So we have something multiple times, you'll typically see that there's a process of, like, it becomes easier, or you adjust, and you figure out the situation,
Yeah.
so you sort of make steps ahead, so that when you actually do come to the physical situation of going and dealing with the car, hopefully you've worked through those resistance problems, right? Or the stress or the fear or the worry. It may tip off of the so it becomes less your concern. As you went to the second dream, it becomes less your concern. Just like I said, it really is the concerns that you want to pitch. It doesn't matter about the physical car, whether the physical car is there or not. Like, if you're free of concern and fear for what may or may not be, and how you may or may not have to deal with that problem, and how you may or may not have to explain to other people about the problem, anticipating all these future things, that's just not even, is that even your car? Like, is that even yours? Do you even have to claim that as your problem?
All right.
So you did progress, like, through to the second dream, where now it's not even, it's not even really, don't worry about it. It's not even really your car. Like,
And I think I was opening the garage doors to just get out of there.
yeah, you're done. You're done with that. Yeah.
And it just got hooked on there, and then I was like, oh,
Yeah,
crap,
you got hooked up on the lift of inspecting what the problem may or may not be.
Right.
And then you end up kind of teetering, having to over explain to yourself, maybe to others. And is it gonna, before I can make the decision myself and fix what the problem is it gonna fall off the lift and make the decision for me? And then I've got to deal with the repercussions of that.
Yeah.
So it's just, worrying about essentially what may or may not be, which is just totally normal, especially when it comes to cars. But that's a great example of how you're working through that process through dreams, so that when you actually go deal with the problem, you've processed a lot of that stuff. So when you get there, you're going to be more go with the flow. You know what? If it's time to go, this is the way it is. It is what it is.
Yeah.
To keep ownership of a car, it's a physical thing. I mean,
But it's not really
metal.
a big thing. It's
not,
like routine maintenance. You know what I mean? Really, it's like, it's not that big of a deal in my mind that I'm worried about it. So I don't know.
Well, maybe that interpretation is on other things, but that's, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think it, but it could be playing out. A lot of things are like, oh, Stephen, is that how you used to deal with it more? Or are you always more happy-go-lucky about these sorts of things?
No, I used to enjoy it more than I do now. Now it's kind of a chore to go and replace the brakes. But I used to be like, oh, time to do the brakes, and
right.
Other than having the money for the brake pads or whatever at the time,
right.
Cause,
right. Yeah.
But yeah, but and then what keeps coming to me though is why the person that I need to try to remember who that was kept using the word lift, and then it was lift in my dream, and then this person used lift, and they're like, why am I using lift? Normally I would use raise. I don't know if that's significant. You know what I mean?
Right.
So both times that came to me about that. So I need to go back and figure out who said that.
yeah, and get further. Well,
because
I'll
Because
see
I
what
think
else
they were
I can.
talking about raising the consciousness, and they were using lift in that
Yeah,
sense.
yeah, yeah. I don't think that you're over stressing about the car or anything. I just think it. We still have these kind of ingrained habits of way of doing things,
Yeah, yeah,
and that we just kind of work them out that way in dreams to release that. So when it comes to it, we don't really need to deal with things that way.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. That's really just bizarre, though.
Yeah, I'll see what it comes up to when I listen to the second round, because I usually get a little bit more right.
Yeah, you
I
might as
have
well
a
sort of
feeling that
ponder it a little bit more.
a lot
Yeah,
of what I said there, I think just be helpful to um a lot of people for how we sort of deal with a lot of
yeah. Oh,
situations.
absolutely,
So,
absolutely.
mm-hmm,
Yeah, there was another one where it wasn't involving a lift or anything, but
mm-hmm,
it was a construction boss that I had, and a really good guy. You know, it was usually just I was his helper, so it wasn't like a huge crew. It was just usually us, maybe one other person. He would sometimes get roofers or whatever. But anyway, I worked with him for a while. It was my last construction boss, but I don't know if the construction part has something as significant because he was sort of a jack of all trades, and I was able to work on anything too, whether it's drywall or painting or whatever, you know. So I was nice for him to have around because I'd done the decks and everything too. So I was working for him in Georgia for a while. So in my dream, well, in real life, I quit working for him. I went through my phone, like, I don't know, a couple years later, and I just called to see how he was doing, you know, because it'd been a few years. And he had like a health concern, maybe cancer or something. So I remember thinking, wow, that might be like the last time I talked to him and stuff. And he was kind of a jerk. I mean, he didn't have friends and stuff like that. I understood him a little deeper, so I got beyond the jerkiness of how he just was. That's just how he was. He was kind of just a jerky seeming guy, you know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
But he was nice underneath, you know. So anyway, I have this dream that once again I decide to check on him, and I'm like, let me see what old. And here's this funny. I'll just give you his last name. Just I won't give us the first name, but his last name was Shingledecker. How funny is that? Shingledecker. And we did roofs and decks and stuff, but his last name was Shingledecker, and he's probably the only one with that name. He probably made it up. I don't know. Maybe he's on the most wanted list or something. Who knows? Sounds made up. People always thought he made his name up, you know. But
That's cool.
anyway, so I'm like looking him up to find him again, and I just put his full name in there and Google search, and then I read this article about how he had gotten hit by a car and killed. I'm like, oh my God, he got, I kind of thought the cancer would have got him or something by now. I kind of thought he might not be around. It's been like 10 years, you know, but I thought it would have been, you know, the cancer or whatever that I heard about the last time I talked to him. But instead, he ended up getting hit by a car and stuff. Then the next thing I know is I'm with him and we're like hanging out. And so it didn't really make a lot of sense. And we were like, we were in his work van on the way to pick up some supplies or something. You know, it was sort of like a normal work day, and we're just like hanging out and talking. I don't really remember what we were talking about or anything like that, but we were on a job. So how do I go from that to back to working with him again and just totally forgetting a moment before that I found out he had died and stuff? It was just weird, but I thought it might be significant, you know.
I don't know. I'm getting a bunch of different stuff with that. Um, like, well, you know, because I always find like when we talk, things go full circle per se.
Yeah.
So what came back to me was like these different realities that we literally have within our existence, and
Oh
like
yeah.
in that one reality, it's like, you know, passed away, but then you can just switch over to this reality and he's right there.
Right. And
So
it's almost like I never moved from Georgia and I'm still there and I'm still working with them all these years later or whatever. Yeah, it could have been
yeah,
totally like that. Yeah, that's
and
weird.
that's sort of like how we can move through realities. The other thing I was getting, which is I'm not going to say necessarily had to do with your dream, but I just think something maybe I'm supposed to share. Which is the conversation I was having with mom about, you know, this coronavirus um thing, and worrying about, you know, whether something may or may not happen, or getting sick or not getting sick. And um it was kind of had a funny conversation. So, you know, we brought it up and we discussed the fact how really my personal belief um is that it's really just a control tactic. It's just going to subside with the flu season. It's basically just a flu that they're using, because I mean there's riots in China, there's everything going on, and now boom, you get everybody sick, nobody's out on the streets. Well, you got nobody's protesting, right? So great control system there, and then also financially for the pharmaceuticals and that whole side of it. So we don't really need to get into the details, but basically that's just media propaganda and fear tactics for a variety of reasons. And it's kind of like, once you know that, you just kind of know it. So why you don't worry about it, right? And so, but Mom likes to keep following up and checking with the news, and can maybe get drawn in emotionally, have her heart. We're all very empathetic people as starseeds. We really feel if other people are suffering. And of course, I think she's worrying about other people's suffering, but it's kind of like how they draw you in, right? And doing it emotionally. And so she came across news that Canadians coming from China were going to be held in Trenton. And our Trenton's military and it's actually very close to where I am here. So it's like, they're coming into Trenton, and they're going to be kept in quarantine. And then, in another week, there's going to be another plane, and they're kept in quarantine. And she's like, well, maybe not go around there. And I'm like, are you serious? I started laughing. I'm like, are you serious?
Take them some snacks and stuff.
I'm like, really? I'm like, and what came to me and what I said to her was like, anything can happen. Really, you could go out, you get hit by a bus. You're gonna worry about getting coronavirus. So what was coming back to me and with the conversation was like, well, he had cancer, but he ended up dying of something else. So it was kind of like the conversation I had with Mom was like, anything can get you. Like, if you're gonna worry about something getting you, like I can give you a whole list. On
right.
Like, we can write a list out, and you can read all kinds of stories about how real it is or whatever, but anything could happen. Like, so are you gonna worry about it, kind of thing. So it was a really funny conversation. Mom and I had a kind of good laugh about. I gave her a tease and a poke on that one.
Well, if you think about it, though, yeah, I mean, you're totally right. And of course, your odds are going to change depending on your location and everything. But on the whole, there's a lot of people worrying about it that it's like they'd have a better chance at winning the lottery than catching it. But because the media is like really pushing it and putting it out there, and then it gets you thinking, you're like, well, that would really suck. And underlying other conditions, oh my gosh, and then it just snowballs into.
I could come up with a variety of stories of a multitude of things, which is just what they do. But that's the thing, it's like, once that's what they do, like, that's what they do, just take everything with a grain of salt. You kind of have to not let it in, which is the tricky balance with being when we feel the empathy that we do for others. And that's kind of how they get us, and why they use these actors and everything else that they do. But once you realize, hey, it's just propaganda. It literally is advertising.
Yeah.
They're selling you an idea. Away. They're selling you something to,
A lot of that stuff falls away just by being in the now. You're like, well, do I have it now? No, I don't. So everything's great,
No, yeah. In this neighborhood, right? That's what Mom likes to say to remind herself while they tease Mr. Rogers. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood too. It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood. Yeah. So it's a good little reminder. It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood. Don't worry about the stories. Don't worry. Just do you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you're gonna go. One thing I can guarantee is you're gonna die. you know.
Oh yeah.
So if you want it, we can worry about it. We can worry about it happening in a multitude of ways if you want to. Yeah.
Think about it. The death rate is 1 per person, right?
Yeah. Guaranteed. We're all gonna get it.
And it's not what we think it is.
And when it comes.
Yeah, it's just the suit. The death of the vessel. It's not really. I mean, we live on and on. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where was I going to go? There was something I wanted to talk about. I'm forgetting.
What else?
Oh, my son. So, all right. So he's been he's normally every spare moment of his day he loves video games and everything. So he's taking a break. He's started playing the piano, so he's gotten a little taste of what you were talking about, where you
Mm-hmm.
just and he's learning stuff. And so he was telling me on the weekend, he's like, "Oh man, it's been like 2 days since I played video games." And I'm like, "Why are you?" I've just been doing other stuff and having fun doing this and this and this. So one of the things was, which I wanted to bring out, is spending time outside. And he came to me, and he doesn't know anything about shadow beings or anything like that. You know what I mean? I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
don't really talk about that sort of thing. But he's talking about being in the backyard, and he's like, dude, you would not believe what I saw. And I'm like, what? And he goes, well, you know that game? There's this game called Limbo, and there's sort of this. The character in the game looks like it's a silhouette. It doesn't look like an actual character. It's just like you're playing this game and the light's behind it, so you're just seeing it as this thin, skinny little kid that looks like a silhouette.
Right.
So he brings up that game and he goes, I saw this character. It looked like the character from Limbo, and he's like coming around the back of the house and he's like walking right towards me. And I'm like, well, how long did you see it for? And he said, well, it took me a second to figure out what I was seeing, and then I figured out it was like, a small person like walking. And I'm like, did they seem like they saw you? And he's like, well, they were walking right towards me and then they just vanished.
Wow.
And I'm like, well, did it look like a shadow? And then like, so he goes, yeah, but it was dark. It was like black. And I'm like, well, did it have features? Did it look like a person wearing a black suit where it was just all black? And he goes, no, it wasn't, like it didn't have details on it. I could just see the outline.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh, it sounds like you saw some sort of shadow being, which, I know some people get scared when they hear that it sounds evil or whatever, but, it's just, I've heard instances where it wasn't a scary thing at all. It's like
Mm-hmm.
somebody saw somebody in their sleep, like walking around or something.
Mm-hmm.
So he sees this like little character walking in him, and he's like telling me all about it. And I'm like, have you ever seen anything like that before? And he goes, no, not like this. And I'm like, well, what about out of the corner of your eye? He goes, dude, that did happen to me one time. He was on my computer, which is in my room, and he thought I got up out of bed and went to the bathroom because he saw somebody walk by out of the corner of his
Right.
eye. But then he like looked over there and I wasn't there, and he was like, that's
Hmm.
weird. And he sort of just took note of it. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
exactly.
And
Yeah.
so it like jarred his memory about that happening and other things happening, like lights, like somebody shines a light in his eye, like from the edge, and then he looks and there's nothing there. And so he's seeing all this stuff and he's seeing stuff and he just blows it off. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Yeah.
he's like laying on the trampoline, because when my daughter moved in, she brought her trampoline over and set it up out there. So he's like laying on there looking up at the sky, and he goes, man, I saw these orbs in the sky. He goes, they were all like flying together. There were 6 of them, and then at one moment they kind of like did like this curly thing and like flew off, and they disappeared like one after the other. I'm like, are you
Cool.
serious? That is so freaking cool. So
Cool.
he's seeing all sorts of stuff. 13
Yeah.
years old. He just turned 13. So
That's
people are
awesome.
yeah, people are starting to notice things, and it's just and I was like, do you think it's because you stopped playing video games? But the one thing did happen while he was playing video games, but he is distracted. When you're just in the game, you're not
Right.
in the world, so to speak. And he's been noticing more when he's outside in nature.
Well, yeah, his head's up looking around, right?
Right. Right. Absolutely.
Rocket science there. Yeah.
But it really adds to, because I've been seeing more things. I've been seeing lots of the sparkly ones,
Yeah.
and he's been seeing those too, like where it's just like a little sparkly flash orb, where it's like
Yeah.
there and then gone, and then
Yeah, it'll come like I'm finding those just come like directly in my line of
yeah,
vision now, eh? They just like they'll just meander right
yeah.
right in the way of what I'm doing. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Notice those. Oh, sweet.
As far as any other symptoms this past week, I've noticed people feeling the heaviness that seems to go. Weird time anomalies, like I talked on with the Twin Flame Divine Fire folks, Alan and Sandra. Weird time, and then I even saw that Greg Prescott put something out about weird time anomalies again
Oh,
too.
yeah.
So people are noticing strange
What, like
time
time
things.
missing or
Or both, like, time seeming to halt, or you getting a bunch of stuff done in way quicker of a time than should be possible, or losing an hour, or, just weird things with time. So I wanted to bring that
yeah.
up.
My big thing still is being just this constant companion of number synchronicities. It really is, uh, yeah, constant. It's like, wake up at 33, after it's 33, 44, and the two twos. Yeah, it's one, two, usually three threes and the four fours, but it's just a constant companion through my day.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely really noticed that, but
Yeah.
that's the only thing I notice about time anymore. Otherwise, I don't know. Otherwise, I don't know what time it is. I don't know. I'm lucky to know what day it is, right?
Right.
It's Zoe Day. Every day's Zoe Day, so that's all
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, that was the other thing too. Like Alan and Sandra were talking about fives kept coming up for them,
Yeah.
and it had been 5 weeks since saw them. And then when I was talking to them on the 8th, they're like, "Oh, it's 5 days until we come on, the show." So they're going to actually be here on the 13th, day after tomorrow.
What
Gonna
day?
have on the 13th, the
The
Thursday,
13th.
this
Okay, cool.
Thursday. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Awesome.
So fives were coming up. Fives were coming up in their story, and so yeah, there's a lot of and then I was doing a little count, trying to figure out, how long until something. I look at the clock and it's 3, 2, 1. And it's like, so it's like constantly the universe is like,
Yeah,
yep,
we
it's
get
the
that.
countdown, counting it down. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
we get that a lot for our show, the 3, 2, 1 countdown.
Yeah, I
So
love that.
yeah, yeah.
Awesome. So I know there was a lot of input today. I'm gonna have to go back and read the chat, guys. So
I'll
don't
go
feel
check it
like.
out later when it comes back up. I did have a cool dream as well about flying
Oh yeah, we didn't
again.
get to your flying
Yeah,
dream. What was that
where
like?
I was just like, it was like super real within the dream, and I was having a great time. I found this moment where I was just like, I was flying around my environment, just like doing whatever, but off the ground, like lifted off the ground. And I had this thought, like, look how used to this I am now. Like, this is like so normal for me now. Like, you ever start a new job and you don't know anything when you start the job at all,
Yeah.
but then like after 3 months, it's about 3 months you've been there, and you're getting the hang of, like, you've all of a sudden you realize, hey, I'm used to doing this thing, like it's normal now. So it was really, I really got that impression. It was like that feeling of like, I've had a bit of time, like that, of doing that, like all of a sudden of just always moving around that way, right? And it
Right.
being like, like 3 months or so of me, um just getting used to it, and now it's just normal. Like, look how normal this is. And then that's when I realized, hold on a second, stop, I'm dreaming. Right. And then I just like, I flew up, and I kind of had this moment of just, instead of pushing anything, because I made this decision before that when I keep going lucid, I keep like flying up to the sky. Like, I'm like, woo, I take off. And then I just kind of come out of it. And I just felt like I was pushing to make things happen. I kind of wanted to step back and just see what would happen. So I just kind of went lucid, and just had this moment of just like observing and watching. Nothing happened. It just all kind of eventually disappeared, and I fell out of it. But it was just this really interesting experience of feeling like I had been doing this for some time and gotten used to it. And was like, oh, this is really cool. This is like my new normal, Like, instead of walking, you're just flying around all the time. And yeah, but then to go lucid like that afterwards as well. So it was super, super vivid dream. And very, very clear and easy to remember afterwards. So fun. A lot happened with it at the end, but still an interesting experience.
That is really cool. Yeah, I think we all need to pick a meeting place. Like we'll all meet at the Great Pyramid at Giza or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Give me a
Like, oh, you
destination to
made it.
fly to. I was like, now what? That's kind
Right.
of, I was like, I was up in the clouds, and I'm like, okay, now what do I do?
Right.
Should I just wait and see what happens? I was just kind of like, yeah.
Yeah. I think teleporting's probably the next thing.
That's what I need to do. Pick a destination. Now, Mom says she's heard me call out to her in dreams lately, which I had set the intention to do, and had sort of remembrance of having the conversation within myself in dream. I can't remember visually picture wise of like what was going on, but I do remember, being in the dream state and thinking, oh, I know she can hear that. Right.
Wow.
And yeah, so a couple of days ago, she asked me, she's like, did you call me in dream? And I'm like, pretty sure I did. I can't remember visually, but I can remember thinking, oh, I like, and of like saying it, and like it hits that resonance, like I can feel the action of doing it
right
on recall, and even knowing, like, can hear how I would have sounded in calling her, like how she would have heard it. But I almost having this like secret giggle to like, oh, she's gonna hear that, kind of thing. Oh, she'll hear that, right? So then I did it. So I mentally, like, the next night before going to sleep, I set the intention with that again, and she did mention it again the next day. So yeah, so that was interesting as well too.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, feeling this understanding of actually experiencing, communicating through dream, like, and feeling that physically. That very cool. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, let's see. I guess no other symptoms, really. Nothing new.
No, just an increased vibration again. Still, a little bit more every day. It's just gradually turning up that dial, little bit. Maybe sometimes it gets a little quieter some days, but it definitely picking up. Feeling that little bit more of my day spent feeling an increasing vibration within me. Mm-hmm. It's much stronger in meditation. It comes on like right away, and I can feel it like flutter in my throat almost here, like. Mm-hmm. So that's not going anywhere. That's just a little bit more every day. It just keeps turning up dial.
Turning that dial up.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Yeah.
Somebody twist it a little bit faster. We can take a little bit more, I think.
Yeah. Just go in the zone. That's what I do. I'm gonna bring it. Yeah. I'm here. I'm ready. Yeah.
Let's get that vibrating going. Okay. Well, thank you so much for being here, Michelle.
Always my pleasure. Thank you, Shane. Love you, brother. Love to all of you.
Yeah, I love you too. I love all of you guys here in the chat and watching later. And we'll see you on the next one. Lots of love, light, and unity to everyone. Peace.
Peace.
Be sure to check out the website at uotf.net. There you will find the live stream schedule displayed in your local time right there on the front page. Below that, you'll find links to take the Beyond Quantum Healing course at a discounted rate, purchase our book, Mandela Effect, Friend or Foe, in paperback or ebook, or to contact me to schedule a BQH session. At the top of the site, you'll find links to help support the work I do, access the free private forum where you can discuss organizing get-togethers in your area, Mandela effects, and more. Thank you all so much for being here.